Pushkin.
This series includes content that may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Previously on Valley of Shadows.
We would get the door open through our informants and then pass that information on to Larry, and then he'd try to put the homicide investigation together.
He said that he received information that Engels was a dirty cop and he assisted Tom with his meth sales and his meth labs.
Certain major players were never touched by Deputy Engels, and that's how we came up with the name Untouchables.
The FBI has a tap on the phone, deepened days, watching the home, to leave a message at the tone, and I'll call you back with a phone that's not my own.
And they said, hey, Larry, we're ordered to go out here and get everything you got in the case.
When I got fired, Larry called me. He goes, I'll be right there, just hang in there. Him and I went into the Buffalo business together, and he never do business with friends. We didn't see eye to eye, and he just split, and that was the end of that.
The story's just kind of like wormed its way into my brain to where as soon as I go to sleep, I start dreaming about it.
Oh, yeah. I feel that, yeah.
One morning, after a year of reporting this story, Betsy calls me. Not to game plan or figure out logistics, just to talk.
So yeah, I'm like working 24 hours a day.
Your
Pretty
brain
much
is
what
on overdrive, yeah.
that's what it feels like. But I had a dream last night and you were in it.
Okay, what happened?
We were in our favorite place, the Devil's Punchbowl.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like jogging on its trails like we're ultra marathoners or something. And
so basically a nightmare. Okay.
Yes, a total nightmare. Leading the pack is Jon Aujay. And like we can just see the back of his head and his backpack that he ran with. And he rounds a corner and we lose track of him. And we like keep running, and we can't catch up. And then as we're finishing the course, coming back around to where we started, there's no finish line. So it just starts over. There's no end to it. Like we're fucking Sisyphus rolling the stone up the hill, but instead we're chasing after this man.
Dude, I feel this so hard because I feel like if we could just spend 3 more months reporting, that
you have been
we
saying that.
Could find that one person or that one piece of evidence that ties it all together or like verifiably disproves it so we can put it to bed. But I mean, I think of like some of those informants we've reached out to who have said, oh yeah, I'll talk to you guys, and then ghost us. Like, what if one of them changes their mind? Maybe that will be the key. Maybe all these sheriff's department people who we've spoken with off the record, if they would change their mind and decide to open up. The resolution to this seems so close, but then it's just like unattainable.
Yeah, I'm realizing it's just kind of this narrative that's kind of on loop.
The story unraveled in stages with help from our different guides. There's Captain Mike Bauer's mission to disprove the Sheriff's Department's suicide narrative, Homicide Detective Larry Brandenburg's murder investigation, and Narco Detective Darren Hager's fight to expose what he sees as a cover-up by the LASD. And now we find ourselves in their shoes, in that our lives have become consumed by the Aujay case, a compulsive need to find out what happened and an inability to quite get there. On a small scale, we understand what these retired detectives, and of course Aujay's loved ones, have endured for decades. The feeling of being trapped between 2 endings. One in which the missing puzzle piece finally surfaces, and another in which it never does. When we first started reporting this story, we set out to explore the claim that the LA County Sheriff's Department did a half-ass investigation for its missing deputy. Little did we know that would lead us into a world of meth manufacturing, drug informants, outlaw biker gangs, dirty cops, mythic monsters, a complicated layer cake of criminal investigations, a heated courtroom battle, and possibly a large-scale cover-up. We've assembled the information we've dug up into an account of what might have happened. But the persistent uncertainty surrounding the case makes it that much harder to walk away. So we find ourselves stuck in a holding pattern, looking for answers. And then, out of the blue, Betsy gets a voicemail from homicide detective Larry Brandenburg.
Hello, Betsy. This is Larry Brandenburg. If you could give me Darren Hager's number or give him my number if you're not comfortable with doing that. Him and I, we're old friends. We haven't been for years, but I think it's time him and I talked again.
It's been more than a decade since Larry Brandenburg and Darren Hager have seen each other. The two started their buffalo farm back in the early 2000s after Hager was fired. They tended a herd of bison, made jerky, and even opened a bar where they could sling buffalo burgers. But after a few years, their business went south, as did their friendship. The last time they saw each other was when Brandenburg testified at Hager's trial in 2011. But then, we show up and start asking questions that force the detectives to take another look at the case that won't go away. So when Brandenburg asks for Hager's number, we give it to him and cross our fingers that they make amends. Because this is one Bermuda Triangle of a story. And maybe, just maybe, a much-needed reunion between old friends could help all of us find our way out. I'm Haley Fox.
I'm Betsy Shepard. And this is Valley of Shadows. Episode 8, The Finish Line. We're in the car, again, on our way to Darren Hager's house. This time, it's to chaperone a detective reunion.
We know the, history of these two guys.
Yeah.
They have been through the ringer together.
And have a bond that specifically started over this case.
Yeah.
We're like matchmakers.
We're straight up Yentas here.
Who is Yenta?
Yenta from Fiddler on the Roof. Matchmaker, make me a match. We're the matchmakers.
Brandenburg did end up calling Hager, who was happy to hear from him. And the two made plans to meet up in person. So naturally, we invited ourselves along for the ride. We pull up to Hager's house right before Brandenburg gets there.
Larry, how are you?
Hey, buddy. How are you guys?
Good to see you, man.
It's been a long time, man. Good. How about you? Good. You look healthy.
Did you dye your hair, or is it just...
Yeah, I did.
That would good boy.
I thought it would look better like this.
Brandenburg takes it in stride when Hager talks shit about his white head of hair.
Yeah, I guess it's been quite a while, hasn't it?
The band's back together.
I hope so.
To you.
Come on in.
Hi.
Good morning. Nice to see you.
You remember the girls, right?
Hager and Brandenburg settle in, exchanging their version of pleasantries.
Got coffee or whatever you want.
I'll have a cup of coffee, dude. Yeah. Okay.
When you're ready for something a little healthier, let me know.
The two swap stories about their horseshoers, talk about what they did on a recent snow day, and bring each other up to speed on their personal lives.
How's the family?
Everybody's good. You know, they got a bunch of grandkids now.
No kidding.
Yeah.
After disbanding their buffalo operation, Hager got into cattle ranching and Brandenburg stuck with law enforcement. He retired from the LASD and now works for a small-town police department, consulting on homicides and cold cases. Which is really why we're here. We love the warm and fuzzies of this rekindled friendship, but we've come to discuss the Aujay case.
I had kind of let this thing go for years, really. I just gave up. figuring he was killed and murdered and that they don't care.
Brandenburg and Hager slip back into their old dynamic and start rehashing key evidence in the Aujay case, like the discovery of Rick Carroll's meth lab just 2 miles from the Punchbowl, and all of the informants who've implicated Tom Hinkle, the Vagos bikers, and Deputy Rick Engels in Jon Aujay's disappearance.
You got the time frame, dust, you hear a gunshot. It all fits. It's not rocket science at all. And this wasn't a planned murder. This shit just happened. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
The men discuss how differently things would have shaken out if the department hadn't stopped Brandenburg from investigating Engels.
If they would have let me put the tracker on his car, got all his bank records and phone records and all those dope people, we would have had him dead to rights. My warrant would have produced all that evidence on him.
Absolutely. Or it could have cleared him.
And that was my premise.
There are a number of loose ends in the Aujay case. Nearly any detail could pan out to become the thing that breaks it wide open. Like this one, an internal email written by Hager's supervisor during Operation Silent Thunder. Brandenburg's never seen it, so we ask Hager to read it aloud.
The task force just obtained phone records for 2 years ago at the time of Deputy Aujay's disappearance. For several days following the disappearance, Deputy Engels and Tom Hinkle made numerous calls to the same pager.
I mean, that alone, wasn't that very troubling to anyone, that a deputy sheriff calling the same pager several times as his dope dealer?
That number Engels and Hinkle were paging could have been the key that unlocked the case. But it was never identified, as far as we know, and it's either been lost or buried over time. It's just one of many things that slipped through the cracks when the sheriff's department stamped out the Aujay investigation.
What got these guys to cover so much stuff up and to lie like they lied on it to cover up Aujay?
I don't know, because they weren't like that. Sheriff's Homicide had this great reputation. We did. And our word was gospel. It was. Especially back in them days.
LASD Homicide appeared to turn a blind eye to Engels' potential involvement in Aujay's 1998 disappearance. But 8 years later, when 2 people are shot and killed in Deputy Engels' home with Engels' gun, it seems like the department would have to finally investigate him.
One of the things we wanted you guys to look at was this is the autopsy for Jennifer Strassley.
Okay.
Jennifer Voorhees Strassley and her dad, Lee Voorhees, are found dead at Rick Engels' house on September 23, 2006. It's just after 3 p.m. when 2 gunshots are fired, leaving the 27-year-old woman and her father with fatal gunshot wounds to the head. Engels calls 911 and a fleet of responders descend on his home. There's cherries and berries everywhere, paramedics, LASD deputies and detectives, a coroner. And then, it's all quietly wrapped up. The 2 deaths are ruled suicides. The sheriff's department issues no public statement on the incident. The few details that do trickle out are inconsistent. So much so that the local paper, the Antelope Valley Press, puts out a story about it, explaining that although they don't usually publish details about suicide, they're making an exception in this case. Because these deaths occurred in a peace officer's home, and there were conflicting accounts of what happened. According to Rick Engels, Jennifer grabbed his .38 revolver and ran into the bathroom where she fatally shot herself. And then Lee ran into the bathroom and shot himself after seeing his daughter dead on the floor. But official reports call into question some key details of Engels' account. And this is the other reason we're here at Darren Hager's house, because we finally got our hands on the coroner's reports for the 2 fatalities.
What's the coroner's case number on that?
2006-07361.
That's her.
Jennifer Voorhees Strassley was an elementary school teacher from Idaho and had recently been struggling with postpartum depression. Lee Voorhees lived in California and had known Rick Engels and his wife Lynn for over 30 years. Lee brought his daughter to stay at the Engels home near the Punchbowl, so Jennifer could recuperate out there. But that's not what happened.
Why does she have access to a gun?
Rick Engels' off-duty gun.
Yeah, that's negligence if nothing else.
Because if Jennifer was in such a bad way, why would Engels leave the gun in a place where she could grab it? And how did Lee wind up in that bathroom?
I mean, if it was a righteous suicide, you wouldn't let your best friend go see his daughter like that. You just wouldn't do it.
Brandenburg has other questions. Like, why was Lee's body moved from the bathroom into the kitchen before investigators arrived? And why did it take the investigators so long to bring in the coroner?
The thing is the hours. This happened at 3. Coroner didn't get there till almost midnight? That's 9 hours.
I don't even know where to go. It's making my stomach I feel like throwing up.
Brandenburg says that when detectives are dispatched to the scene of a death, they typically conduct their investigation and call in the coroner when they're done. If the incident is a clear-cut suicide, this whole process happens pretty quickly. So the 9-hour gap is unusual, especially since there were only 2 people on scene to interview, Rick and Lynn Engels. So the retired bulldog reasons that maybe homicide investigators weren't totally sold on the suicide narrative at first. And as we start looking closer at the coroner's reports, we find more reason to question Rick Engels' account. Included in these reports are 2 main documents. There's the investigator's narrative, written by a coroner's investigator. It tells the story of the events leading up to and surrounding the deaths. It's based on information reported by responding LASD detectives. And then there's the autopsy, which is the evaluation of the body post-mortem. It's done by a doctor, usually at the morgue, to determine the official cause of death. Typically, these 2 documents are complementary. They work together to establish the big picture. But in the Voorhees-Strassley case, these reports describe different versions of the same event.
I've looked at a lot of dead people. I've probably investigated 200 homicides in my career. And I don't know how many suicides, way more. This thing stinks.
We should warn you, the details from these reports are pretty graphic, but they're crucial for fact-checking Engels' story. The investigator's narrative states that Jennifer was killed by a through-and-through shot, that the bullet entered through her mouth and exited the base of her skull. A description that supports the conclusion that she died by suicide.
He assumes she shot herself in the mouth, and this entry wound is actually, he's calling an exit wound. It's not, because it's clearly an entry wound, because the bullet's up here and her skull's fractured.
So basically, Engels goes, hey, yeah, they just shot themselves, and go, oh, so it must be through the mouth and out the back and the neck.
But according to the autopsy, based on a thorough medical analysis of the body, the bullet that killed Jennifer actually entered through the back of her head, near where the base of her skull meets her neck. Brandenburg believes the autopsy and the doctor who conducted it.
This is the fucking pathologist. This is accurate. This is not.
That pathologist recovered bullet fragments from Jennifer's head.
Well, it says the bullet was found in the brain.
Yeah, there's no exit wound.
So it never came out.
So the coroner concludes that 1-inch gunshot wound found at the base of Jennifer's skull, that was where the bullet entered her body and then traveled upward and got lodged in her brain. But that kind of shot would be hard to self-inflict. Brandenburg holds his hand like a makeshift gun, trying to figure out how Jennifer could have pulled that off.
This is so awkward. How are you going to get a trajectory to go up?
That's what I just did.
How are you going to do that?
That's a pretty good shot.
Nevertheless, a county medical examiner rules the deaths suicides. This conclusion seems to be largely based on statements made by Rick and Lynn Engels, and the fact that gun residue was found on the victim's hands. As soon as investigators arrive at their home, Lynn and Rick Engels ask that their hands be tested for gunshot residue, or GSR.
They both stated to everybody that got there, we want GSR.
Why would you say that?
I mean, I can understand a deputy going, "Oh man, I'm under investigation, this, that, and the other. I'm nervous. I know how this thing works."
But Darren, if it's a righteous suicide, you're a deputy. You're not.
I'm just playing devil's.
I know, but you're not even going to think that way. You're going to, first of all, you're going to be very upset that my lifelong friend daughter killed herself. Now my buddy killed himself in my house with my fucking gun.
To Brandenburg, it seems fishy that the Engels' first concern is the GSR test. Plus, he says, a GSR test doesn't prove innocence because gun residue can easily be washed off.
And of course, they wash their fucking hands. But why would you even make that statement? I think Engels killed her.
You think? I think it.
I think he executed her, and then he had to kill the fucking dad too.
We've spent a lot of time talking with Brandenburg and Hager, discussing all sorts of violent and horrific crimes. But this intensity in their voices kind of stops me in my tracks. And then I realize why they're so upset. Because they think these tragedies could have been avoided if the department had just let them investigate Aujay's disappearance.
This thing would have been over a long time ago, and I think Rick Engels would have been in jail. And these two people might still be alive. Now I'm ready for a drink, Darren.
Good.
Fucker.
Betsy and I leave Hager's house with a pretty clear idea of what needs to happen next. There's a few key phone calls left to make and leads to chase down. But first, we hear from someone who knew not only Jennifer Voorhees-Strassle and Lee Voorhees, but Rick Engels. And this person says there were problems with the suicide story from the start.
There are different theories of what happened the day that Jennifer Voorhees-Strassle and Lee Voorhees died at Rick Engels' house. There's the straightforward explanation, that things unfolded exactly as Engels and his wife say they did. But there's also a long-standing rumor that something untoward had gone on between Engels and the young woman, and that this relationship ended in violence. We have to emphasize there's no proof of this. But a conversation I have with someone who knows Engels and the victims makes me wonder.
So I just talked to a family member of Lee Voorhees and Jennifer Strassle.
I'm on the phone with Hayley, bringing her up to speed on what I heard from this family member who didn't want to be named.
They said to me that their family very much believes that Engels murdered the two of them and lied about the suicide. And that's not just based on inconsistencies in his story. It's based on them knowing Engels for a very long time.
Lee Voorhees had been close friends with Rick Engels for several decades and had brought him into the family fold. So this family member I spoke with had spent a lot of time with Engels. They tell me about how when Engels had his first fatal on-duty shooting, he went out to celebrate. And they tell me Engels had a volatile side.
So the family said that he was basically this like hard-ass country boy who was like always pulling guns on people. And then this family member also said Lee told them this story about going out horse riding with Rick Engels. And on this particular trip, a ranger came up and asked them to see their permit.
Mm-hmm.
And Rick responded by pulling a gun on the ranger and telling him that he could just kill the ranger right then and there and no one would ever find out what happened to him.
What?
But the weirdest thing was that at the funeral, they were talking to Lynn Engels and asked what they had all been doing earlier in the day.
The day Jennifer and Lee died.
And Lynn Engels said that they had spent the day at a gun range, which stuck out to them because if this woman killed herself because she was emotionally distraught, why would you take her to a gun range?
The gun range detail is just confusing. That's not a place you'd take someone in the middle of a mental health crisis. But it also undermines those gun residue tests. Because if all 4 people went to the gun range, then that would explain why the victims had gun residue on their hands. And it also means that Lynn and Rick Engels would have gun residue on their hands. Unless, of course, they washed it off. This information isn't coming from an informant that the sheriff's department can just dismiss as tweaker talk. It's from a family member of the 2 victims who says they knew Rick Engels pretty well. But they tell me they never pressed the sheriff's department about the suicide determinations. They just let it lie. They were scared to come forward because they felt like the department had Rick Engels back. Records from the LA County Sheriff's Department would go a long way in clarifying what really happened. But again, the LASD denied our public records request, saying that disclosure of these records could jeopardize the potential safety of the people involved. Well, 2 of those people are dead, and the other 2 may be responsible for those deaths. So it seems to me that their concern for safety is a little misplaced.
Law enforcement wants to hide something. They call it a suicide and close the case.
Aujay's former boss, retired Captain Mike Bauer, thinks this is all part of the department's strategy.
It's too indecent for the public to learn this. It's embarrassing to the family, and we don't release that information.
I mean, what are the odds that Engels would be implicated in Aujay's alleged suicide, and then years later be caught in the middle of 2 more deaths, 2 more suicides that occurred in Engels' home with Engels' gun? Jon Aujay's disappearance left behind a void of information. But the tragedy that befell Jennifer Voorhees Starosely and Lee Voorhees is far less mysterious. There were bodies, there was a weapon, a precise location, and a story told by 2 people that doesn't entirely square with medical analysis. In spite of all that possible evidence, and in spite of all the criminal allegations surrounding Deputy Engels, the sheriff's department didn't seem to dig in on any of this. And yet again, they gave Engels a pass. It's the job of investigators to look for patterns in crime stats, criminal histories, forensics, and yet the LASD refused to consider these violent deaths in Engels' home as anything more than an unfortunate coincidence. But we can't help but wonder, how many tragedies make a pattern? According to Mike Bauer, there are even more suspicious deaths linked to Rick Engels, and those need to be seriously investigated too.
The goal was to find one missing person, Jon Aujay, and then try to determine the true cause of his death. And in the process, I found that this matter is linked to a number of other missing people and murders.
There's Rodney Katzeff. Remember, he was the freelance investigator who kicked up tips on the Aujay case and sent some key informants Hager's way. Katzeff went missing in 2001, and his car was found burned out near the Angeles National Forest. Rick Engels was the deputy assigned to the incident, but curiously, he chose not to respond. Just months before his disappearance, Katzeff had written a letter to a friend talking about the Aujay case. He wrote that Tom Hinkle and Rick Engels both killed the lost cop and, quote, "I've got the witness who was there," unquote. And a few years before that, Engels shot and killed a guy named Lyle Tyler. Engels had responded to a stolen vehicle call at Tyler's trailer. When Tyler came to the door holding a shotgun, Engels opened fire. The LASD ruled it a justified shooting, but according to at least one informant, Tyler knew too much about Engels' meth operation and was terrified the deputy might come after him.
This is a criminal enterprise centering on manufacture and distribution of meth in Antelope Valley, and in my opinion, continued to run because the Sheriff's Department did not put an end to it.
Armed with as much reporting as possible, we decide it's time to finish off our call list, to talk to meth dealer Tom Hinkle and Deputy Rick Engels. I'd been trading voicemails with Hinkle for a few weeks, but I eventually get him on the phone. Afterwards, I call Betsy to fill her in.
So, you know how I've been playing phone tag with old Tom Hinkle?
Yeah, did you finally get him?
Oh my God, yes.
Does he still have that deep, gruff, menacing sounding Sam Elliott voice?
100%. As soon as I picked up the phone and heard his voice, I started sweating immediately.
I give Hinkle my normal spiel, that we're working on a story about something that happened in Pear Blossom in the late 90s, and that his name has come up multiple times. I provide no specifics, don't even say Aujay's name. But he seems to know exactly what I'm referring to, and is quick to answer.
He said, I don't have to, I'm not gonna, I don't want to, I don't want to talk to nobody about anything.
Did he say it with that much sass?
Oh, more sass.
It's so surprising that was his response. Because you would expect someone that has no involvement to say, I wasn't involved. I don't know what you're talking about. But that's not what he said.
We don't get new information from Tom Hinkle, but our brief interaction matches what we've heard about him. Just like when he talked to DEA agent Kent Bailey, he doesn't deny knowledge of what happened to Aujay. He just won't give it up. And now, the time's come for our other call.
Okay, you ready to do this?
I guess so.
Okay, who's going to make the call to Rick Engels?
We're torn over who's going to do the deed. We want answers. We need answers. But the idea of confronting Engels is nerve-wracking, given all the things people have accused him of doing. So we settle the matter diplomatically.
Rock, paper, scissors?
It is the only fair way. Okay.
Rock,
1, 2,
paper,
3,
scissors,
shoot.
Oh. God, okay.
Paper wins every time.
2 out of 3? No, okay. No. I will do it. But I gotta know if we only have time for one question.
Were you involved in Jon Aujay's disappearance?
Okay. All right.
Let's
here we
do
go.
It. Yeah. It's ringing.
My stomach's in knots. The phone's ringing, my hands start sweating. I get ready to leave a message. And then someone answers the phone.
Hi, I'm looking for Rick.
I can tell Hayley's nervous because her voice goes up a whole octave. I overhear Rick's wife, Lynn Engels, on the phone. She says, he's not home right now. Can I help you?
Yeah, my name's Hayley Fox. I'm a reporter, actually, and I was trying to track him down for a story we're working on. Is it possible for me to leave a message?
She says yes and asks, what is this concerning?
It's about a few different things. Back when he was working as resident deputy in Pear Blossom, related to a few things that were going on in the area, including the Jon Aujay case. Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay, bye. She said, he may or may not want to talk to you, but I'll pass along the message.
Yeah.
Which, frankly, is more encouraging than I thought it would be. I thought she was going to be like,
hang out.
No.
Yeah. Okay. And now we wait. What do you think the chances are that he'll actually talk to us?
Based on his performance in court, I would say not very high.
Getting him to answer questions kind of seemed like it was pulling teeth.
Mm-hmm.
The only real insight we have into Rick Engels' personality is from those recorded interviews and court transcripts used as exhibits in Hager's lawsuit. What we glean from them is that Engels is hard to read. On one hand, he's evasive and curt. He says he doesn't know what he was doing on June 11th, 1998, the day Aujay disappeared. But his deadpan responses are laced with piss and vinegar. He seems to be flaunting that the sheriff's department did not thoroughly vet him as a suspect. He says homicide detective Joel Holmes never checked his phone records or searched his house like he claimed. He's got a lot of nerve, and we hope it might compel him to talk to us. So we try him again.
FBI has a tap on the phone. The DEA is watching the home. So leave a message at the tone, and I'll call you back with a phone that ain't my own.
Engels has the same outgoing message he recorded decades earlier, when he was a suspect in multiple investigations. Even in retirement, he's still taunting authorities, teasing phone conversations they never got a chance to hear. I leave a message for Engels, but he never calls back. So we never get a chance to ask the money question. Were you involved in Jon Aujay's disappearance? It's what the sheriff's department should have been asking from the start. But it seems like maybe they just didn't want to know. And that's why we do what we do next. We call the police on the police.
Hi, my name's Hayley Fox. I'm a reporter in Los Angeles working on an investigative series about a LA County Sheriff's deputy who went missing out in the Engels Valley in 1990.
There's an incredible number of allegations against Rick Engels. The number of people who are missing or murdered in his orbit is suspicious. We've seen no hard evidence that Engels is guilty of the things he's been accused of. But there is a consistent pattern in the sheriff's department's treatment of Engels, clearing him over and over again, with little to no investigative effort. And that's the biggest indication to me that there is something to all this. We've reached out to the sheriff's department numerous times. We submitted multiple interview requests and public records requests, which they denied. Then we wrote them one last time to give them a chance to respond to claims about Aujay's disappearance made in this story. But the response we got back was pretty underwhelming. Here's a condensed version of it. To date, based on the information developed throughout the course of the investigation, there is no evidence to substantiate foul play was a factor in his disappearance. The department is dedicated to ensuring that every investigative avenue is explored, and we encourage anyone with information to contact the Homicide Bureau. Yeah, the LASD is dedicated to every investigative avenue, except for all the ones that currently exist. So what happens when a law enforcement agency fails to do its job? Or even refuses to do it? Who has the power to step in and force the issue? Today in Los Angeles County, there are two agencies that oversee the sheriff's department. There's the Civilian Oversight Commission, which investigates big picture issues like use of force and deputy misconduct, typically focused on current LASD personnel. And then there's the Office of the Inspector General, or OIG. It's an independent government agency formed to promote transparency and constitutional policing within the sheriff's department. So we take our findings to the OIG to see if they can help us. We tell the OIG about the allegations that Rick Engels was involved in Aujay's disappearance, that the sheriff's department never properly investigated him, and that there's a number of suspicious deaths surrounding Engels. The chief deputy of the OIG writes back with this response. Currently, the Office of the Inspector General is unable to conduct meaningful investigations because we're not able to compel Sheriff's Department personnel to speak with us. Of course, we are concerned if the Sheriff's Department covered up the involvement of a sheriff's deputy in a homicide, but the most we could do is report it, which you have the power to do by reporting your investigation in the media. Investigative reporting is often an effective means to get the department to comment or even act. We appreciate the pat on the back from the Inspector General, but we're discouraged to learn that the oversight agency has no real authority, and therefore, no real oversight. Because ultimately, cooperation from the Sheriff's Department is just voluntary. They can and do simply refuse to share information with outsiders. So this watchdog group is only as effective as the LASD allows it to be, making law enforcement the gatekeeper to its own secrets. That's what this story is ultimately about. Crime that happens in the absence of oversight. At first, we thought the problem was just concentrated in the outskirts of Los Angeles County, that the sheriff's department didn't do enough to police the Antelope Valley or oversee its personnel out there. But the truth is, the problem is much bigger. Because there's no actual accountability for the LA County Sheriff's Department. They are the real untouchables. We feel frustrated, alarmed, and to be perfectly honest, a bit defeated. But we can't say we weren't warned from the very beginning.
So when you first told us that you guys have stumbled into a cluster of shit, what did you mean by that?
Welcome aboard. Put your seatbelt on. Get ready for some interesting stuff.
I check in with retired LASD Captain Mike Bauer, who first introduced us to the Aujay case.
People like you come and go and get interested in the topic of the mysterious disappearances. It's all very interesting. And the stuff that I found out has been beyond interesting. It's been disturbing.
Bauer just can't shake how his department handled things.
They didn't do their job. They basically said, we got to put a lid on this because it's going the wrong direction. Mm-hmm. It's going the direction that there's drugs involved and there's corruption involved and there's murder involved. Okay, we don't want it going in that direction. So it's a can of crap that is a little broader than just what happened to Jon Aujay? Where is he? And once we find him, it's all over. No, once we find him, it all starts.
Do you have any advice for digging ourselves out of it? How do we get out of the cluster of shit?
Yeah, I'm painfully aware of the irony here. Of me asking a man who's been investigating Aujay's disappearance for over 2 decades how the thing ends.
The more I looked at it, the worse it got. And as I kept going, I thought, I don't know if I can solve this.
Bauer says that for his own peace of mind, he's had to come to terms with the fact that some mysteries stay mysteries.
I came to the realization in the last few years, my wife got cancer. I couldn't go to LA and do any field work at all because of my wife's illness. And I said to myself, okay, now I have to get used to the idea that I will never solve this. And that is a very hard pill to swallow. Mm-hmm. I will never solve this. Well, we'll see about that.
Mike Bauer lives with that uncertainty every day. But he's still got some fight left in him. When he's not tending to his ducks and other animals, he's plotting.
Well, I have a strategy that I have not implemented, but I may implement.
Debbie Aujay gave Mike Bauer power of attorney over the Jonathan Aujay estate. And as such, he can sue the sheriff's department on behalf of the estate.
I would bring a civil lawsuit against the department for damaging Aujay's estate, damaging Aujay's widow, damaging Aujay's daughter with this false information contained in the report, and that the department is failing to investigate.
Meanwhile, homicide detective Larry Brandenburg is considering getting his PI license so he can do a private investigation into the Aujay case. Hopefully, with his buddy Darren Hager by his side.
I don't know what else to do. Otherwise, we'll just take it to our grave.
And Hager spends his days on his ranch, herding cattle and reliving a past life he can't seem to let go of. Not until the case is solved.
Just prove Aujay killed himself or Aujay was murdered. I don't care either way. Make me look like a complete asinine, go-nowhere detective and he committed suicide and I just missed the whole ball of wax. Those are the only 2 things I want.
Jon Aujay's last day continues to play on loop in their minds. And ours too. So we make one last trip to the Devil's Punchbowl. But this time, we're not chasing after anything.
staring out at this overlook, and like seeing the mountains and the rocks, and you just get this sense that it's like this immovable, static thing.
I think it's really fitting that we're here because so much of Jon Aujay's story is like elusive and intangible and feels impossible to hold on to. And the Devil's Punchbowl is like the one place where we can actually go and feel some part of the story.
It grounds it in a way.
It grounds it, yeah. Like we can literally touch the rocks and hear the trees, and that is really something that's been hard to find in this story. Any sort of solid ground.
We've come here to park our story, to bring it home.
I feel tired, is what I feel. I can't imagine how tired Bauer and Brandenburg and Hager and everybody.
I feel really tired too. It's a lot to take on, and working on this story, it's kind of become the focal point of my life in a way that hasn't been the most healthy, but it's the kind of story that just draws you in and makes you kind of obsessive, because it feels like if you keep chasing after the thing will reveal itself to you.
I still think the thing might reveal itself to us. Maybe 20 years from now, but...
Hayley is the eternal optimist. I'm the eternal pessimist, or realist, as I like to call it. Together we balance each other out and capture the ambivalence of what our characters live with each and every day.
The sun is starting to go down pretty quickly now.
I was going to say, it's going to be dark pretty soon.
In the Western movie version of this story, the good guys get the bad guys and ride off into the sunset. But in this story, there's no tidy distinction between the good guys and the bad guys. And there's certainly no tidy ending. So we just sit on a rocky overlook and watch the sun go down. As it dips behind a mountain, the last rays of light reflect off the rock formations as darkness pulls up from the bottom of the punchbowl. The rocks look like fiery pillars floating in a sea of black, something solid, encircled by shadows. And then the light fades from them too.
All right, the sun has set on the punchbowl. I think that's
our cue.
Yeah. All right.
And with that, we pack up our stuff and just walk away. And then, of course, I get a call from Hayley a few weeks later.
I'm calling because I just heard back from the FBI.
LOL.
It's actually a pretty good update.
Hayley Fox, the intrepid reporter, resubmitted our FBI request with additional information from our investigation. And this time, we don't get their usual song and dance.
They said they have 485 pages on Jon Aujay.
No way. Dude.
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yes.
So they were investigating the Aujay disappearance.
It seems like it.
That's important confirmation, because we know that the FBI would not be investigating an isolated homicide case or disappearance.
No, they don't get involved in anything unless there's an element of corruption or multiple victims or something like that.
So when do we get our hands on these files?
That's the kicker. They said that it will take about 4 years to process our request.
4 years? What are they doing? Copying these things by hand?
Yeah.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
It's terrible.
That was so bad.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so to be continued?
To be continued.
Okay, talk to you later.
Okay, love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
Love you.
Okay, bye. Like, bye for fucking real. Get off the phone.
Fuck.
Go away.
I can't.
If you have any information or tips related to the disappearance of Jon Aujay, please call 213-262-9889 or email shadows@pushkin.fm. Valley of Shadows is reported, written, and produced by us, Hayley Fox and Betsy Shepard. Our editor is Diane Hodson. Our executive producers are Jacob Smith and Alexandra Garreton. Original music by Jake Gorski, Ray Lynch, Mike Jersich, and Hayden Gardner. Sound design by Jake Gorski. Fact-checking by Annika Robbins. Additional production support by Sonia Gerway. And our show art was designed by Sean Carney and Betsy Shepard. Special thanks to Nick White for show art photography. Special thanks to a few more people at Pushkin who made Valley of Shadows possible. Greta Cohn, Christina Sullivan, Eric Sandler, Morgan Ratner, Amy Hagerdorn, Kira Posey, Jordan McMillan, Jake Flanagan, and Owen Miller. Additional thanks to Sonic Milk Studio in Cambria, California, and Portia Street Studios in Los Angeles. And we want to thank our families for cutting us a lot of slack over this past year. Valley of Shadows is a production of Pushkin Industries. To find more Pushkin podcasts, listen on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. From Type 2 Fun, we're Hayley and Betsy.